Speaking Human.
Today on Speaking Human, we unveil the winner of our Summer Box Office Challenge and honor some incredible and impossible movies that define the blockbuster season.
Speaking Human.
Welcome to Speaking Human, where we simplify the world of marketing for humans. I'm Shad Conley, and with me is my co-host, Patrick Jebber.
What's up, Shad? Can you believe the summer's over already?
I mean, technically, it's not over, but, it's over.
It feels over.
Yeah, of course, the main thing that the end of summer means is the end of the summer movie season and the end of our Summer Box Office Challenge, where way back, you can go back and listen, episode number 97. Me and you predicted the movies we thought would top the box office this summer on this very podcast. Well, now we get to revisit those predictions and see who came out on top. Aren't you excited, Patrick?
I am incredibly excited, even though I know deep down that the results...
Hey, we didn't announce anything yet. Anything could still happen, right?
Right, anything could happen.
Maybe the numbers are wrong. Maybe somebody hit refresh or something. Things
This
change.
just in!
All box office figures from the summer are wrong. Well, before we look at those numbers here, let me get your personal opinion. What'd you think of the movie Summer? Did it live up to your expectations, whatever those might have been?
You know, it really wasn't a bad summer for movies, but I don't really feel like it was as memorable as years past. I know we've said this multiple times, and I know I've said it on past episodes of this wrap-up movie marketing podcast episode that we do each year. Maybe that's just me getting old and crotchety. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's exactly what was expected, which makes it boring. We kind of knew how it was going to play out. So from that standpoint, I think it wasn't very exciting. It was what I would call middle-of-the-road summer.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm not trying to be funny. I think just as you get older, we've said this before, you get a little bit more cynical. You've seen more, and so you are less surprised by things, right?
Yeah. You just have more summers behind you. You have a larger collection of data to compare it to. And, even if you look back on the past 20 years, you'll probably find 3 or 4, you'll be like, okay, that was a great movie summer here. But I think just looking back, doing what we did for this show where we looked at it at the beginning of summer and now we're looking back on it, it just followed the lines a little more than I would have liked. I would have liked a little more unpredictability. It's just become a little stale in that it's almost too easy to see what's going to happen over the summer, I guess.
Yeah. Obviously, it's by design. I mean, the production studios know what's up. I mean, that's why they churn out so many sequels. That's why they churn out so many of these remakes. Because they know it's a given what you're going to get. I mean, you're going to consistently rake in X amount of dollars if you put out another Purge movie. Or, we know Oceans 11, 12, and 13 did this amount. Ocean's 8's going to probably do this, right? So it's pretty predictable for the most part.
Yeah. And I think, we focused on the top 5 in our prediction. I think that's where the most predictability is. So I don't know. We'll have to have a discussion next year to see if we do this again, how we can spice it up a little bit.
We could always take into account, which we don't right now, what the budget was and what they spent versus what they made and just do the difference of those two, because then that's truly what the movie actually made. And sometimes that's not nearly as much, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because if a movie spends $400 million and then they make $415 million, Jurassic World, that's not actually what they spent. But I'm just using that as an example, right?
Yeah. No, it's a big difference between actual profit and gross, I guess, is a big difference.
Right. So that could be an interesting way to do it, I suppose. And that'd be more true to real life. I mean, in the business world, if you make $2 million, whatever product you're selling, but you spent $1.5 million, you didn't really make $2 million. You have all your costs involved. That has to be taken into account.
Yeah. We could even use that information to give ourselves a budget we could use, or, take those 5 to 10 movies we know are going to be successful and say, these are off limits. You have to pick movies other than these ones.
Yeah.
Some things to talk about if we want to do this again as we move into 2019, but that's getting ahead of ourselves.
We're getting really close to 2020, and you know what happens then.
Perfect vision.
Perfect vision. We'll see. So far into the future, we just be like, oh, we have perfect vision.
Speaking of which, there's a movie idea right there. It's called 2020, and it's about people who have visions of the future or something. Coming summer 2020. Well, that's looking ahead. Let's look back a little bit. Here's what the top 5 movies ended up being for the summer of 2018. Now, remember how we did this. We did this from Memorial Day to Labor Day. That was our window. So that means Avengers doesn't count. Not part of this. So that's why you're not going to hear it on this list. So here's our top 5 from that time period. Number 1, Incredibles 2, which made $602 million. Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom, $415 million. Number 3, Deadpool 2, $318 million. Number 4, Ant-Man and the Wasp, $213 million and change. Number 5, Solo, A Star Wars Story, $213 million, but a little less than Ant-Man and the Wasp. So those are your top 5 movies. Do you want to share, Patrick, what your top 5 movie predictions were in order of how you predicted them?
Yeah, I could do it like the Micro Machines guy and do it really fast. That's what I'm going to do.
Okay.
Number 1, Solo. Number 2, Jurassic Park, Fallen Kingdom. Number 3, Incredibles 2. Number 4, Deadpool 2. Number 5, Christopher Robin. And I slowed that one down because, it's about Winnie the Pooh and...
It's slow.
Kind of like Eeyore.
So what was your total box office combined for all those movies?
My total was $1.635 billion.
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of cheddar.
And here were my predictions. At number 1, I had Deadpool 2. At number 2, I had Solo. Number 3, Jurassic World. Number 4, Incredibles 2. Number 5, Ant-Man and the Wasp. My grand total was $1.761 billion, which, in case you're not good at math, is higher than your number, Patrick, by $126 million. Well, as we knew in the beginning, most of our picks were the same, so it came down to Christopher Robin versus Ant-Man and the Wasp. Christopher Robin did all right, probably eventually going to get to 100 million, but, Ant-Man and the Wasp crossed 200 million, 4th highest grossing movie of the summer, just a little more.
Yeah, I was trying to buck the norm. And the norm for me is picking the superhero movies, the action movies. And I was really hoping that this family film, Christopher Robin, was going to surprise us, really.
Yeah, so that was the main difference. Talking about things we got right and wrong with our list, obviously I had Deadpool 2 at number 1. I kind of shot a little high on that. And Incredibles 2 at number 4, shot a little low on that. I think I just overestimated the Deadpool audience and definitely underestimated the Incredibles 2 audience.
Yeah, well, I did that with Solo, right?
Well, if you re-listen to our predictions podcast, I expressed I'm like, I don't know about this Solo movie. I expressed some clear concerns that I think a lot of people had. But I even said, even with those concerns, it's still probably going to make $350 million. Really surprising that this movie struggled to even get to 200 million. 200 million, which is good for most movies. For a Star Wars movie, is almost shocking. For it to only make that much money for a movie nobody really thought was terrible. Nobody really loved it, but I just can't believe it came in that low. And I don't know what it means for the Star Wars universe or Disney moving forward, but I find that maybe one of the most shocking things that happened this summer.
Yeah, well, and like we talked about in the lead-in to the summer, coming out in the spring, I think they shot themselves in the foot. And I think there were a lot of other key pieces at play there, but that was probably the biggest. It's oversaturation. That's why The Force Awakens did so well. I mean, it's been decades since we had a Star Wars movie.
It's not quite as special as it used to be.
Right.
I'm just surprised that burnout happened so early, and I just wonder, Disney's going to take a step back now, and they're like, oh, we got to be careful with this brand here if we want to care for it and nurture it for these decades to come like we planned on doing.
Yeah.
I will say, too, release date-wise, I think that contributed a little bit. Deadpool 2, I thought, which did well. 318 million was pretty good, number 3 for the summer. But I thought it would do probably 100 million more. I think coming out so soon after the Avengers hurt that a little bit, too. I think at that point, people were slightly superheroed out. There was a little bit of fatigue there that may have contributed to that.
Yeah, they were all packed in at the beginning there. it'd have been better to have a Deadpool towards the end of the summer, or maybe even Solo might have been better.
Yeah, when you come out has a lot to do with it. Even that first Deadpool, which was such a big hit, came out on Valentine's Day, like around that time in February when there wasn't a lot of competition and it was something different than the type of movies that were out then. That's a big factor, is when you actually come out. A few of the movies we mentioned didn't make our list, but that we mentioned on our initial podcast. Ocean's 8, I know we had mentioned, clocked in at number 8 for the summer, ended up doing pretty well, made $139 million. Mission Impossible Fallout, number 6, was at $206 million as we're recording that, and that's still going up. That's looking to be one of the most successful movies in that franchise. That's done very well. And Tag, we both talked about wanting to see Tag. Did you actually see Tag?
I didn't. It just happened to be right around the time where I was out of town. You know how that goes.
I asked some people, tried to get some interest in it, and everybody's like, no interest. I was like, okay. But it ended up doing okay. For a smaller comedy, it made $54 million, came in at number 17 for the summer, which for a small comedy, pretty decent.
Yeah, I feel like that one probably made a really good profit, even though it does seem minuscule compared to Incredibles 2, $600 million.
Crazy. So yeah, just a few mentions there. All in all, though, our series, we've done this 3 times. This gives me a little bit of an edge. We were tied up, so now it's 2-1.
I do have to give you props. You beat me fair and square this year. I blame it on poo.
I'll tell you this. Christopher Robin didn't seem like that bad of a pick to me at the time you made it. And then I saw the trailer for it. I didn't quite realize what it was. I didn't realize it was like puppets and reality. And once I saw the preview for it, I was like, this doesn't look very good.
Puppets in reality? Those always do really well. Yeah, I blame it on poo.
Poo screwed you again.
I might as well just flush my poo-sized list down the toilet at this point.
Maybe next year you won't put poo on your list.
Maybe my list will just be full of poo next year. You can't put poo on your list anymore, Patrick, because it's not even being released this year. It's Memorial Day, Labor Day. Oh, lots of potty humor. Once again, we
descend to the toilet.
Well, in a minute, everyone, we'll hand out some awards for the movies that left their mark on the summer of 2018. But first, it's about that time we get a little quick word from our sponsor.
Today's sponsor is Farmers Insurance. Insurance can be confusing, overwhelming, and time-consuming. At Hire Insurance Agency, we remove the guesswork and hassle, helping you protect what matters most. We offer a wide range of auto, home, business, and life insurance policies to help you meet your specific needs. Call 844-543-3463 or visit hireinsurance.com. That's HYRE insurance.com for more information.
Rolling Stone is raving about Incredibles 2.
It's bigger than ever.
I'm in.
It's a start-to-finish sensation.
Freaking cool!
Exhilarating. It really is incredible.
Yeah, baby.
Rated PG. Now playing.
That was a TV spot for The Incredibles 2, the top movie at the U.S. box office this summer by a long shot, grossing over $600 million. But the real question is, will it receive a Speaking Human award on this podcast today? You're about to find out. Now, as we often do when we hand out awards, these aren't your typical awards. Instead, these awards are designed to spotlight unique, notable, or interesting things that happened at the movies this summer. So let's start handing out some hardware, Patrick. We each have a few awards we're going to give to movies or something about the movies that happened this summer. We got 3 each, so do you want to start, Patrick? You want to give your first one?
I'm going to go ahead, though, and predict lots of hate mail over my awards today.
Ooh.
Mainly because they jump to the dark side.
Yours are all negative, you would say, then?
Yeah, they're really negative.
Okay. I love it.
They're more negative than I tend to be on my list.
Yeah.
Why? You'll have to wait to find out.
He's going through some dark times, people.
Yeah, this is the old crotchetiness in me. So I apologize ahead of time, for all those listeners who loved these movies or think I'm completely wrong. You could prove me wrong too. I'm totally fine with that. So the first on my list is the Let's Not Go Overboard and Create Another Overboard movie. Oops, too late award. This goes to the movie that cracked the top 20, number 19 to be exact, and one that I wish I could take back. If I was Thanos, I would erase it from existence in the universe, turn it to dust or whatever that stuff was to visually represent those poor souls being no more. And that's coming from a person who didn't even see this movie, okay? So this is where I feel like I'm being kind of a hypocrite. I didn't see this movie, so I don't know that it's that bad. I just don't know why Hollywood just keeps remaking these things. Please, for the love of God, stop it. And the new one, this is the kicker, man. The new one has made twice the lifetime gross of the original, and it's only been out since May. I actually remember and liked the original, although I grew up sort of in that time frame. So anyway, that's my award. The Let's Not Go Overboard and Create Another Overboard movie, Oops, Too Late award.
So is there going to be an Overboard 2, a sequel to the remake?
If Hollywood hates me, yes, there will be.
Yeah, one of those things surprising to look at the, box office results and see that movie, which I didn't hear much about. I knew it came out, but that it did 50 million, which is pretty good for, again, a small comedy. Kind of surprising. I will say the original Overboard, my wife's favorite movie.
Is it her favorite movie?
Yeah, favorite movie of all time. Tops the list.
Really?
Yep.
So here's the thing, I'm basing my award on the marketing of the movie. And this goes for everything on my list today. The movies may not be that bad, but the marketing, I can't even, as the kids say today. I can't even right now.
Understandable. So all you Overboard fans, send feedback to Patrick at feedback@speakinghuman.com. We have 3 awards. 2 of mine are fairly positive. One of them is a little bit negative, and that's my first one here. So I'll start off with that one, because we're rolling on the negative. Let's go with that. And this one I call The Beast with a Mighty Roar But No Footprint Award. And this one goes to Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, which I just think stands out as an anomaly to me. This movie made over $400 million at the US box office. Number 2, as we said, $400 million is a lot of money. That's a ton of money. Double what Solo made. $100 million more than Deadpool 2. Hugely successful. And yet, I don't know one person who saw it. I haven't heard one person talk about it. I haven't heard many conversations about it, whether people are saying it's great or it's terrible or I love this part or this one thing that happened is so crazy. Nothing. It's like dead silence. You may remember I put up at the beginning of this summer, I wrote an article for the Speaking Human site that was like the 10 biggest blockbusters of all time, where I took this criteria, which was money, how much money they made, the marketing, how much it seeped in, and the mania, which was how much people were talking about the movie at the time it came out, to determine this list of these 10 biggest blockbusters ever. This movie has 0 mania, which for a movie that made that much money is so bizarre to me. It's so bizarre that the box office receipts indicate that people went to see this movie multiple times, a lot of people, but yet there is no conversation about it. It's like, we walk out of the movie and it's just dead silence. I just don't understand how that happens. So that's what this award is about here.
It's funny that you say that. Being a movie that is so high on the list and made so much money, I have to agree with you. I don't know anybody that saw this movie besides for my family. Because we did. We went and saw it. But let me tell you something. I can't even remember the movie. As you were talking about it, I was trying to think back and figure out why it is that nobody's talking about it. And I think it's because there is the Men in Black light that comes on and erases your memory of the movie when you leave the theater. It's weird. Outside of the trailer scenes of like when he jumps over the cliff, when all the dinosaurs are, I couldn't tell you other scenes of that movie. Honestly.
It must just be riding on the coattails of the other Jurassic World, which people did talk about, was hugely successful. I think it made like 600 some million when it came out a few summers ago. But it's just so bizarre. It's mind-boggling to have a movie make that much money and just have nothing else around it.
Yeah, and I think it's also part of this idea that I was talking about before. Everything about these franchises are getting so diluted and so oversaturating the market. It's just a lot of the same. So that's a good award. I like that. I also like that it was borderline negative because my list is, it goes down the rabbit hole deep. I'm just going to be honest.
Mine's positive from here on out, so hopefully we'll have a good balance here to celebrate and decry at the same time.
Yeah. So my next award is the Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again award. And this award is another expression of movies that keep getting greenlit. If you think you've guessed who this movie goes to, you might be surprised because it's none other than The First Purge. Why do these movies keep getting made? Okay, they've all made $65 to $80 million lifetime. Is it because of that consistency? Seriously, I want to know. The original movie concept was kind of weird and interesting, but not worth making 4 more movies from it. Then again, I never did see the draw to the Saw movies, and they made 8 of those things. I also want to make sure I don't leave out the runner-up for this award, okay? Because I know I threw you all off when I gave the award to The First Purge, but the actual movie whose title this award is drawn from, why? Why are we making another Mamma Mia movie? I mean, I like ABBA just as much as the next person, or maybe I don't because I just don't get it, but why are we making another Mamma Mia movie? I asked every single person that I met this summer, what is going on? I thought this was the exact same movie that they did the last time, and everybody else said the same thing. It is. It is the exact same movie. So why make another one? It's mind-boggling. Anyway, so there's my rant.
Your rants today are beautiful. You're like a, talk radio host or something going off. I love it.
So anyway, yeah. Like I said, I'm going down the rabbit hole. I apologize.
Yeah, Mamma Mia probably didn't do quite as good as expected. Still did good. I don't know if they're going to make another one of those. I will, in defense of The First Purge a little bit, I can answer your question at least, why they keep making them. Production budget, $13 million. Domestic gross, as of today, $69 million. That's the way all these horror movies are. Dirt cheap to make. They make a decent amount of money. All profit, baby.
Yeah, well, that goes back to what we were talking about, making new lists from here on out and whether or not we take production costs into account. Because the offset is so incredibly different. Doesn't seem like a lot of money, $65 million, but in comparison to what they're spending on it.
Yeah. Whereas Solo probably lost money, this movie made $50 million.
Yeah, they're running the production of those lean, which is good.
It's a good model, and it works.
So if we're going by why they make them, it's surely because they want to make a profit. Oh, wow. I guess I just answered my own question. But why? We don't need another one.
You wouldn't think, but audiences keep going, right?
Why?
Expressing interest, which is
know.
a good question.
Yeah.
I didn't see The First Purge, but I saw The First Purge, or The Purge. Which I didn't think was all that good. But the concept, you're like, okay, it's kind of interesting. I don't know if they've done more interesting things with it, but for some reason in the summertime, people love going to these movies. So every summer, we get a new purge. We're purging.
Yeah, I wish we could purge it from our memory.
The slate? Well, wait till next summer. There'll probably be another one.
So what's next on your list? The positive one that you're going to bring us back out.
This is highly positive. I'm going to tilt us back in a highly positive direction here. No more screaming old men. So this award is the movie that earned crazy rich results by delivering to an underserved audience. And that movie, Crazy Rich Asians. Now this movie is really the underdog success story of the summer. What this movie accomplished is pretty impressive. It's the first major Hollywood film to feature an all-Asian cast since The Joy Luck Club in 1993. That's 25 years ago, which seems both criminal and insane from kind of a business perspective. But with no major stars and a budget of $30 million, it has so far earned $120 million, and it's still going strong at the US box office. When we tracked our results, it was number 11 for the summer, and it was still making pretty good money. So by the end, it's going to keep moving up that list. It also was number one at the box office 3 weekends in a row, which is something really rare, especially during the summertime. Obviously, it appealed to the underserved Asian American audience, but that's not its only key to its success. It also appealed to an underserved romantic comedy audience. Once a staple of the movie schedule, especially in the summertime, rom-coms have fallen off the radar in recent years. But obviously, there's still a big appetite for them, and this movie kind of hit on that. So it's something unique and original in a pool of summer movies. It tapped into these underserved audiences and delivered something that people were craving. So kudos to Warner Brothers and the makers of this movie for delivering on all these fronts and getting this big surprise success, I would say, of the summer.
I am really glad that made your list. I'll tell you why.
Are you going to tear it down?
You gave it a very positive award. Mine isn't necessarily positive, but it did make my award list.
Oh, geez.
This is the movie that somehow made the Studio Crazy Rich Award. Now, I agree with you. I think it's somewhat criminal that it takes 25 years for have an all-Asian cast. But, and again, going back to my original statement, I didn't see this movie, so I'm judging the book by its cover, or the movie by its trailer, in this case. I saw the trailer for this movie before it opened, and I thought it looked incredibly stupid. The trailer did a disservice to the movie itself. The movie is based on a series of books, and apparently there is quite a following. It did really well, like you said, which surprised me, which was a positive thing. If you could surprise me today, it would be a great thing. Just maybe the movie, maybe it is a delightful romantic comedy, and if I just gave it a chance, it would be great. But we base our stuff on the marketing of these movies prior to them coming out, and the storyline and the premise, again, has been overdone a zillion times. I know, I get it. You know, an average person falling in love with an insanely rich person but doesn't know it, and then they have to meet their family, and the family doesn't like them. That part aside, the plot aside, the trailer was bad. It was just bad. And I think they've since updated that trailer because the trailer online wasn't as bad as that one, but the one that they were showing prior to the movie was horrific. Anyway, see, it wasn't as negative as Mamma Mia or The Purge or the Overboard.
Understandable, and I think you're making actually a good point here without necessarily totally knocking the movie. But I will say as a marketing note, and I'll agree with you on this, marketers have become so good at making trailers for movies, there's almost no reason for a bad trailer, even for a bad movie, to exist anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Trailers have gotten to a point where they're so good. Some of them are so creative and so clever. I love watching movie trailers. That there's almost no reason to see a bad trailer. It's almost surprising and jarring when you do. Especially a movie like this that's from Warner Brothers and positioned to be a hit before it even came out. They wouldn't have some better marketing push behind it. There's no reason for a bad trailer to exist for a movie like this at this level.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, there's no reason even bad movies can have good trailers. And you can polish any turd of a movie with a good trailer today. Case in point, I don't want to drag up horrible memories for you, but if you remember, you were super excited about Suicide Squad. Turd of a movie, in your opinion. I'm sort of paraphrasing your thoughts and feelings on that movie afterwards.
Terrible.
Right? The trailer
Fantastic.
was far better than the movie itself. Mm-hmm. And I'll agree with that. And I didn't have as much distaste for that movie as you did, but I will say the trailer, way more exciting than the movie. It had all the best elements of the movie and maybe even some things that the movie should have had.
Yeah, the movie tried to have. It's a great example. It gets brought up a lot as a prime example, but yeah, I just don't see any reason for a movie not to have a good trailer, especially if it's a movie that has so much that people want. There has to be something you can pull from it to make it shine.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was a nice combination award. So you have one last award to give. And if this is super positive, maybe we'll drag our lists out of the depths of the ocean. Be like, yes, Speaking Human is not overly negative because of Patrick.
Here's my prediction for this award. Not only will it allow us to end on a positive note, it might even, inspire you to say something positive yourself about the movies and the movies this summer. Who knows?
I think you're overshooting there.
Yeah,
But
it might
all
be. I might be.
All right, let's go for it. What is it?
So this award is the brand beloved by generations at the peak of its incredible powers award. And this award goes to Pixar. Now, if you remember, on our predictions podcast, I questioned a little bit if maybe the time gap, 14 years between Incredibles 1 and 2, would hurt it at the box office at all. That was insane. I think what we saw was it actually helped it. The broad appeal of Incredibles 2 is something I didn't totally foresee, but when I went to see this movie with my kids, there were teenagers, kids who watched Incredibles 1 when they were kids. There were like college-age kids. There was almost every single demographic sitting in that movie theater. And that is the love and loyalty the Pixar brand has begat this day and age. They have everybody hooked. What they've done in the past 20 years with the movies they've made, the level of quality those movies have been, they've managed to hook a generation. They got young kids, they got those kids' parents, and then they've grown up with them, and now they're on a next generation, which has allowed them to expand this audience. And whereas they once were making movies that were making $300 million, now they're releasing movies that are making $600 million. They've essentially doubled that audience. And a lot of that, I think, is due to just this brand love. People hear Pixar, and they immediately, children, adults, grandparents, they think, this is going to be a good movie. This is a movie I want to see. It's just become something bigger than almost the movies themselves. You know, I can remember going to see the original Toy Story, the first Pixar movie, in '95 I took my little sister to see it when I was a teenager. I went to see it on a date with a girl. Next summer, in 2019, they're coming out with Toy Story 4. I have no doubt I'm going to be in that theater with my kids, and that's going to be probably the biggest movie of next summer. I just think Pixar's on another level. They're peaking right now. That consistent quality, creativity, storytelling has really made the brand into something special when it comes to movies. And that's why we saw that amazing turnout for Incredibles 2, which was better than I would have imagined. What do you think, Patrick? Can you negative that down?
So I will agree with you on a couple different fronts. One, Pixar has great positive brand equity, which is what you were touching on. It's a beloved brand. People look forward to those movies. Anyway, here's the thing. I think the reason why Incredibles did so well, it was the Star Wars effect. So going back to something I said earlier today about the Solo movie, it was such a huge time span between movies. Star Wars, The Force Awakens, almost $1 billion. I think that is the real reason why The Incredibles 2 did $600 million. I do agree with you, though.
Yeah, and I think that's almost a backing to my point to some degree. You know, even if time gap has a lot to do with that, I would not have put Incredibles up on Star Wars level, but I wouldn't have thought of it like that. But I guess some people do. You're talking about Pixar as something who's very careful with these brands. They're not in a rush to get them out and cash grab them. There's just a lot that they do well, consistently. And, you know, I think there is something to that. I think you're right. Like, building anticipation is a good thing, obviously. Getting people excited for something and wanting it more than they can actually have it, as we've seen time and time again. Let the demand build up more than the supply is actually there, can definitely benefit you. And Incredibles 2 probably did about $200 million more than I would have possibly guessed it would have done at peak.
I agree. I do. I agree with that.
I think one thing that your angry awards illustrate is, you know, with the movies, we want to have a clear why. Mm-hmm. Why are you making it? Why are you remaking it? Why are you sequelizing it? Like, why? Why not just make something different, something new? If you're just in it for the cash grab, that's not good enough, right?
I mean, it's good enough for some people because clearly people are going to see the Purge movies, right? I mean, the Saw movies, the whatever. People are going to see them, so they clearly don't care. I mean, and I'm even susceptible of that, you know? Like, I go see an action movie that's been done 1,000,000 times.
Yeah, I think people would like better options. You know, people like going to the movies, though. So if better options are not there and they want to go to the movies, they're going to go with the lesser option.
And nowadays, you know, you get a membership at your local cinema and you could just go see movies even if you don't care to see them, even if they're trash.
Non-stop. Yep, just to see them.
That was garbage.
Keep consuming them for no reason other than, you know, subscription. Great awards, though. One thing, before we wrap up, I got to throw in an honorable. I do have an honorable, an award I thought about Didn't make the cut. I think you'll agree with this one. So the award would have been It Seems Impossible, the sixth film in the series, is the highest grossing one award, which would have gone to Mission Impossible Fallout. Most movie series fizzle after, part 2 or part 3. This one's going on 20 years, and this one's the most successful. It's got pretty good reviews. People seem to like it a lot. Just wanted to give that a quick shout out. Didn't quite make my awards, but definitely award worthy.
Yeah, that's a good award. Oddly enough, I agree with that positivity that you've just shelled out there. And here's the reason why. I saw that movie. I liked it. I thought it was probably one of the best in the franchise.
So, see, you didn't hate the summer.
I didn't hate the summer. I just hated all the movies that were in the summer.
That's why they call you Patrick Summertime Jiva. Well, on that note, let's get our final nugget of human wisdom. Human wisdom.
So for today's human wisdom, I'm gonna go ahead and use a snippet straight from one of this summer's movies. We talked about it, Deadpool 2. In the intro scene, Deadpool is seen taking out the bad guys in classic violent fashion. His character, breaking the fourth wall, like he's known to do, talks to the audience in the theater as if they're in the movie with him. I know what you're thinking. I'm so glad I left the kiddos at home. But that's where you'd be wrong. That babysitter of yours is high as right now. And believe it or not, Deadpool 2 is a family film. True story. And every good family film starts with a vicious murder. Bambi, The Lion King, Saw 7. Holy pickles, that guy's on fire. That's not CGI, folks. He's actually on fire. And that's one of the scenes that, as a moviegoer, I look for in movies today. No, not the violence. Authenticity. Something unique. A movie that speaks directly to me through the screen. If it has to come to that, then that's what I need. And that's why I was a little overly negative today, is I'm looking for that. The unique story or plot line in movies today.
I think that's good. It's a good call to action for the movie studios to appeal directly to you so you don't have to rant again next summer. We know what you want. I'm sure they'll deliver.
Yeah. So
I love it. You're in great form today. This is one of your best episodes.
overly negative Patrick? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Hashtag overly negative Patrick.
I think it's just surprising, right?
You are the personification of the frustrations we have all felt with studio movies at one point or another. Like, just give me something different. Come on, man.
Please, anything new would be great. Well, I think we covered a lot, everyone. That's it for today's episode. You can find current and past episodes of the podcast, some are less negative than today's, on speakinghuman.com. While you're there, sign up for the weekly emails and let Speaking Human dance into your inbox every week.
Tweet us your thoughts on our summer movie awards. Give us your feedback on Patrick's negativity. Or let us know your own summer movie award winners using the hashtag SpeakingSummerMovies. You can find us at speaking_human on Twitter. That's at speaking_human on Twitter. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode of Speaking Human. Catch you then, humans.
Speaking human.